Hi y'all, it's Charlene from the Crafty Art Shack, and we're here today with another challenge video. So let's get to the craft desk and get started. Let's go. Here we go with DIY number 1. Now this one is a Hobby Lobby dupe. This is a truck painted. And now for this first DIY, I got this truck from the thrift store. It is a Dollar Tree item, but it was actually cheaper at the thrift store. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take all that paper off, and we are going to paint it with white chalk paint. Now the first thing we're going to do is, the reason why we paint this with white is so it makes colors brighter. So if you're using a yellow, if you painted this straight on the MDF, it would be a dull yellow, but we want it to be a bright yellow, so we're going to put white down first. And it doesn't have to be chalk paint. Chalk paint just covers easier in one coat. So we're going to use this color Maize that is by Waverly, and we're going to paint our whole truck. Now while I'm painting this, you'll notice that I have some little black streaks come out. That's because I rinsed my brush, but I didn't rinse it really good, and that I did that on purpose so that it would make these dark streaks in there. And if you go back and forth the direction that I'm going, it looks like it's supposed to be that way on the truck. So we're going to paint this whole thing in the yellow. And then after we get done with that, then we're going to take our multi-surface black paint that is by Apple Barrel, and we're going to paint our tires. And you want to use that color because it's going to make your tires look shiny, which most tires do. So that's the reason why I use that brand and that color. Then the next thing we're going to do is take these little flower things that you can get in a package from the Dollar Tree right now, and I'm going to paint them with the antiquing wax, and I'm going to put some on and take it back off. And you need 3 of those. You need 2 little flowers and 2 little butterflies. Now the first thing we're going to do is paint. We're going to lay down 3 colors of paint, and the reason why we're laying down 3 colors of paint, we're doing a dark pink, a light pink, and a white, because when we run our brush through this, and you've seen me do it in some of my other videos, so we're going to go back and forth and load our brush, and then when we paint our little flowers, they don't come out just looking like one solid color. They come out looking variegated like a real flower would. Now we're going to paint up all of our little flowers and our little leaves using all the different colors, and we're going to use the 3 different colors in every color that we paint. Then once we get them all painted, then we're going to take our little black liner brush, and we're going to come in here and add all the little lines that should be there for each of the flowers, the butterflies, and the leaves. Now while all of those are drying, we're going to cut our little middle piece to put as our running board on our little truck. And then after we get that glued in place, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my fenders from one of my smaller trucks, trace it out a little bit bigger, and I'm only going to trace out the outside of it. Then I'm going to cut it down and make fenders for this truck. Now after I get my little fenders cut out, I use that silver marker. So if you take some rubbing alcohol, you can, and a Q-tip, you can just wipe off all of that Sharpie marker. It works really good. And the next thing we're going to do is paint our little wheel hubcaps in. And then after that dries, we're going to add the little flowers. Now here's where everything went awry. When I say awry, I mean awry. I'm trying to show you a little trick that my husband showed me, and yeah, it didn't work as good for me. So what I'm doing is, that little eyedropper has baking soda in it, and I'm putting a little bit down on my tire. Now my tire is dry. Now what I'm doing, and I'm wiping off the excess because too much came out, and you don't need a whole lot. So what I'm going to do is take that baking soda, put it right there in a little pile, and then I'm going to add some super glue to it, and then I'm going to stick my bead to it. You guys, don't try this if you haven't ever done it before. Be prepared. I wasn't prepared. I glued my fingers together. I glued the pearl to the top of my nail. I glued everything but what I was trying to glue. because once this stuff sticks, it sticks. Like, see, it's stuck to the little flower, but I got to get it to stick to the truck. And I stuck my finger in it, and then I put super glue down on it, and then I got my finger stuck in that. I had to sand the top of my nails down because I had super glue on the top of them. So anyway, this is supposed to do there, see, I just did it. And then I got it on that one, and then I got it on that one, and then I glued my nail to my finger. And yeah, it was a mess. But what it does is it makes it super, super hard so that it won't come off. That bead's not going to come off of that little flower. And so here I am trying it again. Now don't wait too long once you put that super glue on, because it will get hard really fast. And then once you get that, see, now I got it the second time around, but the first time was a mess. But it does cause things to stick very good. And you see me cleaning my fingers off. Yeah, it was a mess. Now, after I got those glued on and got my fingers cleaned up, then I took my pencil out and I'm looking at the truck sitting up there by my computer screen, and I'm using a pencil to kind of trace out where all the lines are supposed to be to make this truck look realistic. So I do it in pencil first, and then I come back in with a Sharpie marker and tighten up those lines and do my doodling. Now I'm taking my Posca marker and I'm going all over the truck and putting little dots on it because I just thought that would be cute. And then after that, I'm going to put a little shine on the fenders. And then after I get all my doodling done, I'm going to take my little flowers and glue all three of them together in a straight line. Now I've got them laying there. They're not glued down yet because I want to see how far up I need to put my flowers, my silk flowers. And so that's what I'm doing, is kind of seeing where I want to put them all, and then I'll remove that and glue those down. Now after I got all my flowers glued down, I'm cutting off any of these fatter pieces that I don't need on there where the flower attaches to the little wire stem. And then I took my flowers there and I glued them together, and then I added a little board to the back so it would stand up a little taller, and I added a little ladybug on there, and we will see the rest of this at the final reveal. Now today's video is a First Friday Open Challenge, and this theme for this one is the decor dupes, and we were supposed to go to a store and figure out what we wanted to do a dupe of and then do it in the video. Today it is hosted by Lisa from Our Gray House. It is hosted by Sarah from JujubeeDIY, and the guest host this week is Tammy's Happiness Created. And those ladies' links are listed in the description box, along with a playlist of all the other crafters that are participating. So go check them out because you don't want to miss their crafts. They're doing some awesome crafting. And let's get on with the rest of the video. Now here we go with DIY number 2. And this DIY is a Michael's dupe, and it's this little stool. Now I found this cutting board at the thrift store. Now I want you to look at that beautiful carved in design that's on there. Now I got these from the thrift store, and these are going to be my little legs, and I'm going to take and measure and put them in place. Now how I did it is I measured 1 inch in from the side and 1 inch in from the other side, and then I made me a mark, and that's where the corner of my little block for my leg sat. And then I took my brad nailer and I placed these where they should go. I added a little bit of hot glue on the bottom of them. Now I know that's not going to hold it in place, but it held it long enough for me to get the brad nailer in. Now if you're going to do this permanently, I take a lot of my projects back apart and use them for other things. But if you're going to do this permanently, take and use wood glue and then use your brad nailer. Then the next thing I did is I cut the little dowel rod to fit in between these, and I just hot glued it into place because, like I said, I'm going to be taking this apart and using it for another project in later videos. And the next thing I did is I took this whole project and painted it with my black chalk paint that came from the Dollar Tree. And then after that completely dried, I took and painted it with my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint, and oh my gosh, look how pretty the design came out to be. Now, you don't have to do a real good job on this paint job. You just have to put enough on there to make it look the way you want it to look for your project. So this, you know, I kind of did like a messy dry coat of this. And then after everything's dry, I took my sandpaper and I sanded down the edges of it, and we'll see the rest of this at the final reveal. Now, at this time, we'd like to thank our subscribers for subscribing to our channel. We really appreciate it, and we love you bunches. And here we go with DIY number 3. Now, for this DIY, this is a Michael's dupe, and we are going to take and make our own. So the first thing we're going to need, now we need 3 of these little birdhouses that come from the Dollar Tree. You can also get them at Michael's. And I'm taking my miter shears and I'm cutting the back side of the little roof off, and it has to be flush with the back side. Now you can do this with your miter shears, and I'm going to show you. See, if you turn it a certain way and get those miter shears up in there, then you can cut that edge off. And you're going to need to do both sides of the roof, and you're going to need to do the bottom piece on the back side as well. And once we get all those cut off, now down here at the bottom, I'm showing you that you can score this with your utility knife to cut it off that way as well. Now, once you get that done, take the sticker off and sand any rough edges that you have. And then you're going to need to do this to 3 birdhouses. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and lay my birdhouse with the front facing up. And I'm going to slice a piece of that center top of the roof off. And so what we're going to do is I've got a little popsicle stick already cut to the length that I want it, and I made it so it overhangs the front just a little bit. You'll want to sand any rough edges that you have on it. And then you're going to glue that down to the top of this. Now you're going to use wood glue. You should use wood glue. I'm using hot glue for video purposes. And you want to make sure you have that piece hanging off the front edge, not the back edge, because you're going to need it there for another part. Now for my little piece that is at the front of the little houses, I'm going to take one of those angels that you get from the Dollar Tree back at Christmas time, and glue it to that board right in the front of that popsicle stick. Now you're going to need to complete that for all 3 houses. Now the next thing that I did, I got me a box of those little flowers from the Dollar Tree. Now what I'm showing you is I didn't have enough to do all the same. So what I did is for the 2 houses that were facing forward, which would be the tall house that's going to be in the back, and for the house that faces the front, I'm going to use the same ones on, and then the ones that face the side are going to have the same, if that makes sense. In other words, all my flowers aren't quite the same. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my little flowers. Now you need to take one of these and cut it directly in the center. And your miter shears work good for this. If you don't have miter shears, you can use a utility knife to cut that. And you're going to want to make sure you go right between 2 little buds or leaves or whatever they're called, and then you're going to clip it right in 2. Now it is in 2 parts right there, and I'm going to just finish breaking it. Now be very careful with these. They're very, very delicate. And I'm going to clean up any rough edges. You can use sandpaper, but because this is so delicate, I am being very careful about how I do this. Now after I get them all cleaned up, I'm going to take and glue the whole one right in the center, and you'll be able to see this when I move my hands. And then the 2 half ones are going to be done to the outside. Now my suggestion is that you paint all your houses first before you do this. Now we're going to make the big birdhouse in the center. But Dollar Tree, after I did this, had some birdhouses that came out, so you could use one of those because it is taller to make your birdhouse. But what I'm doing here is I'm taking one of my old foam paintbrush handles and I'm gluing it down, and then I'm going to glue this other side on there so that it will hold that while I put the wood glue on. And so you see me putting that hot glue there. Then I'm going to add this piece, and then I'll come back in with some wood glue and glue everything together. Now once we get that done, then I'm going to take, and I'm showing you that I glued them on opposite sides, if that makes sense. The little the dowel rods that are on the inside, they're sitting to the different sides. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to put a piece of painter's tape on here to kind of hold it in place where I want it to be until I get all the glue where I want it. Now I'm going to use a combination of hot glue and wood glue and glue these sides together. Now this side over here is open, so I can open that up just a little bit, add the hot glue and the wood glue there, and then come back and move the painter's tape to the other side and do the same thing. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take another one of those planks and I'm going to measure to the center of it. Now once I get to the center of it, what I'm doing, and I'm sorry it's off camera, but I am cutting the center of this, but I'm not cutting it all the way through, because, and then I'm going to score it just a little bit until I get just about to the other side of it, and then I'm going to, I guess I do cut it. No, I'm cutting it enough so that it does this. See what I'm doing there? I don't know if I can explain that any better, so there's the picture. And so now I've got to make some little triangles to put in there, and then you kind of see where I'm putting the little houses, and we're bringing this all together now. Now in order to get the perfect triangle that I wanted, I took a piece of paper and laid everything down like you see here, and I traced out my little rooftop, and then I made me a pattern, and I'm going to use that last piece of wood, because those little planks come in a 6-pack, and so I'm going to take that last piece of wood that I have left over and lay this little triangle out and cut 2 of them. Now once I get my little triangle piece cut out, then I take a piece that's left over and I'm going to glue it down so that when I sit it in my little box, and I'm sorry it's hard to see that, but when I sit it in my little box, it's going to give me something to glue that to the little box that's going to be our tall birdhouse. And I'll do this for both the front and the back. And then once I get it in there like I want, I take me another one of those dowel rods that are from my foam paint brushes that I discard after I use them. I take those handles off and save them for projects like this. Now what I'm doing here is I'm adding the roof to the top of my little birdhouse. Now because my little birdhouse wasn't going to have any overhang, I took and added 2 popsicle sticks to each side on the front and back and trimmed them up to where they match the frame of the house. And then I'm going to take some of that, I'm going to add my little flower to the top just like I did the other, and because this one doesn't have a hole, I'm going to take that extra flower and add it to the front of the birdhouse for it to look like there was a hole there. Now if you notice, I added the popsicle stick to the top and I added my 2 little angel pieces up top, and here's that piece that I was talking about gluing in to make it look like a birdhouse. And so now that we've got all of our little birdhouses ready to go, now it's time to glue them together. Now you're going to want to take some hot glue and wood glue and glue these together. Now you're going to put it on the back side of the small houses and then stick it in the place you want it. Now you want to make sure that the two that are alike go to your side and the different one goes in the front. Then you're also going to want to add your little perch right here to the front of this. Now I cut a small dowel rod and then hot glued it into place. I didn't get it quite where I wanted it. That's why I was cleaning that off so I could re-glue it on there. And you're just going to want to sit it right in front of that little flower to make it look like it's supposed to be that way. Now after we get all of our little pieces on there, I went and cut these little wooden pieces to go on the front because I noticed in the dupe project it had some little raised pieces, so I'm going in there to add these on, and I'll do it on all four of the houses to the fronts of them. Now the next thing I did is I painted the whole thing black. My suggestion to you is before you put your little flowers on, you paint the black and the white on your project at first, and then we paint the whole thing white. And then the next thing we're going to do is sand down the areas to make it look like it is a recreation of the dupe. We'll see the rest of this at the final reveal. Now today's video is a First Friday Open Challenge, and this theme for this one is the decor dupes. And we were supposed to go to a store and figure out what we wanted to do a dupe of and then do it in the video. Today it is hosted by Lisa from Our Gray House. It is hosted by Sarah from JujubeeDIY, and the guest host this week is Tammy's Happiness Created. And those ladies' links are listed in the description box along with a playlist of all the other crafters that are participating. So go check them out because you don't want to miss their crafts. They're doing some awesome crafting. And let's get on with the rest of the video. Here we go with the final reveal. Alright y'all, we're back from the craft test, and didn't these turn out so cute? Now, if you like our content, subscribe, and that way you don't miss another episode of the Crafty Art Shack, because we're always doing something fun, always trying something new, and always doing crazy things. So you guys subscribe if you're not subscribed. It's free. And we'll see you in the next episode of the Crafty Art Shack. We'll see you later. Bye.
And this one's yeah, what's it called? It's a challenge video. And so let's get to the craft test. I forgot what I was gonna say. If you like our content on these you guys, if you like this content, then subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share our videos because it really helps our channel out. And we'll see you in the next episode of the Crafty Art Shack. We'll see you later. Bye.